It has finally happened. We're about to review the ugliest watch this channel has ever seen. So let's see if I could still find any redeeming qualities from this Nubeo Magellan, and let me tell you how it could have been a little bit worse. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Real beauty is in the inside. Art is the window to the soul. I tried to apply any of these sayings to the Nubeo Magellan and I simply just can't. This is one of the really most convoluted pieces I have ever reviewed. But I don't want this video to turn into a bash fest worthy of a seashore drinking bout. So let's start with the dimensions, which was the first real quote-unquote feature of this watch. Coming in at a whopping 48 millimeters, this case requires a heavy-duty wrist that immediately rules out this slim appendage watch pirate. At first glance, it looks like a Frank Mueller that swallowed the Richard Mille, but as you look closer, you're then shocked to find that it's closer to an Invicta that's trying to gate crash the GPHG. As a malnourished GShock fan, I should be the last one to tell you that this should never be worn on a wrist smaller than 7 inches. But I'm pretty sure someone out there can pull this off without any trouble. The good thing about it is that the operation is rather simple. There's a screw down crown to unlock, and then there's just one pull to get the hands set. It's nice to see both balance wheels spring to life when the watch was wound, and I'm happy to report that both are actually functional parts of the watch. Then you'll notice that the second hand doesn't hack. Yes, that is a serious thing that many people will be put off with. As much as I can justify that this being non-hacking has no practical use at all for this kind of dial configuration, people will still find it a step down to what is being offered in the same price range. I'll give them props though for exposing this crown stem gears that at least gives you a small visual treat to an extremely baffling visual design. It's obvious that you're buying this regardless of the practicality angle. Yes, mechanical watches are not practical on the accuracy side anyway, but this is multiple levels removed from that. Then they give you these holders for the ring keepers, which helps in the usability, but then they don't provide you the quick release spring bar, so then your options are reduced once again. I seriously think that this watch is actively trying to discourage me from liking it, but I'm a very stubborn man, and I took it a challenge to find something appealing to it. So I tried making an extreme comparison against the Submariner here, in the hopes of unlocking the secret of this design. Well, there's no secret really, as the Submariner looks tame and deliberately designed against the blender mentality of this confused Magellan. Yes, it is called a Magellan, trying to be as space age as possible compared to the down-to-earth visuals of the sub, but it really fails to connect with anything in the cosmos. If there was anything tech-related here, it would be a GShock, and this TVA model looks more what an astronaut would wear. If ever, for the sake of reaching out towards the outlandish, I would actually see this Nubeo working on the set of a failed Jodorowsky Dune movie. You know, that epic 14-hour movie that no one could make. I wonder why. I'll admit, if you're one of those who like the steampunk, retro-futuristic stuff, this is actually a solid piece that could go with your outfit. Of course, something needs to be said about the novelty of cosplaying a steampunk fantasy, but I'll spare you that discussion and I'll stick with our watch pirate theme here. It also seems that I'm not the only one who's having an allergic reaction to this watch. Melvin Ramirez says, "What a huge watch! I can see it all the way here from Canada." Martin Waden disliked it so much that he forgot to spell. It's all for show. Terrible looking watch. Please don't wear it. CCUT CCUT says it's an ugly copy of a Richard Mille, or a better copy of an Invicta, a bold, chunky ensemble of gears. And finally, MHM 1975 says the silica gel was the best thing in that box. With this kind of watch, anyone could reason that the design could have been worse. And as we look closely, despite its seeming melting pot of sci-fi elements, there are some good things that can be said. All these plated elements are clean and solidly applied. Initially, I thought that all of these metal parts would look like chromed out pieces from the discount shelf of Toys R Us, but they look evenly plated here. The strap used here is the soft rubber kind, and even the buckle is nicely sculpted. From the back, you can work out the movement that is slightly decorated but obscured by the Magellan spacecraft illustration on this blue tinted crystal. Keep in mind that it's using only mineral crystals, so no sapphire parts on this collection. Dial side, the main characteristic that you'll be paying for is definitely the dimensionality of the dial. You can appreciate the volume of all of the elements here if you can look past the comical nature of this design. Honestly, it could have been worse, as this variant was the most composed version of the bunch. The other models had even worse color combinations. At least they had one that's easier on the eyes. This one still has a lot of clashing colors though, with its red, green, three shades of warm colors, and about three tones of gray all over the dial. I mean, just look at this. A little restraint in the color choice, and it makes a world of difference even for this convoluted piece. Next, there's just an overload of textures. I love these dial tracks that gives it a relatable watch impression, but this second subdial would have been better if it was circular as well. At the 6 o'clock position, we have these bridges that's purely for decoration as it's well disconnected from the actual balanced bridges. Visually, I'm okay with it, but by principle, it's no more than a gimmick. What's more interesting are the actual escapement forks that's slightly visible underneath. I would have loved to see this more exposed to really showcase this rather uncommon movement. Although I can't fully confirm it, it seems to be a Shanghai SHS-05 caliber. Most of the times, these calibers are found on dressier watches. Here, it's tossed in a more eccentric design. And here's another one that you can add to the could have been worse list. When I unboxed this watch, I thought that this gear is just for show. But when I accidentally sped up the footage, I was surprised to see that it was an actual functioning gear. So now there's an actual argument that can be made that this Magellan could have been better if it was done with a little more finesse. The playability and interaction that the user could have had with this watch would have been better showcased. I was enjoying it here for what little that I could see. Understanding this watch really helped me to position my expectations better. It's really a premium novelty watch. Maybe it's pushing it a little by adding the premium tag on this watch, but it's not really subpar either when it comes to the quality of materials. It's a bit bold and daring with all of those angular components, and the way that they are fused together could have been done better. Most of the stuff just looked oversized when it's not needed to be. Functions that were expected in areas that are visible are really not practical at all, while some functions are nearly completely hidden when they could have been exposed for us to enjoy. These are just a few of the traits that people will define this watch as ugly. And in a way, what's even harder to accept is that these very same traits are some of the desired features of a watch. This what could have been worse watch could have been easily better if the designer applied some restraint. But then again, looking at the rest of Nubeo's offerings and the way that they churn out production of their watches, I have a gut feeling that they know exactly the kind of design that they are aiming for. It just so happens that my gut also disagrees. And that is the Nubeo Magellan. It's got this dual escapement style dial. The use of rose gold here and the gray tones are at the very least decent. That's, I think, that the best that I could put it. But aside from that, there's so many bad decisions that's done here design wise. I could clearly see with just a smidgen of scrutiny that many of these structures are just for show, and I think that's going to put off a lot of people. Aside from the color tone and the rose gold, everything else could have been toned down, but no, they tried to just put as much detail into this as possible. This is actually the better variant of the collection. This is the one that I chose because I see that at the very least I like the gray and rose gold combination, but everything else is just a miss. So what do you think? Is this the ugliest watch that you've ever seen? This is not the ugliest watch that I've ever seen, but it's the one, the ugliest one, or the most horrendous one that I've seen reviewed in this channel. So comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Am I too harsh, or am I even too soft still with this watch? Comment down below. I'd like to know your opinion about it, and let's talk about it.